Dear students, in today's class on the subject of analog and digital communication, we will discuss about Emory PSK. Okay, so in the last class, we had seen the concept of PSK, binary PSK, and in today's class, we will first talk about quadrature PSK and then the Emory PSK, or in a way, you can say higher order PSK. Next. So as I just told you in yesterday's class, we talked about binary PSK. Binary means two. We know that one bit was transmitted at a time in binary PSK, that is either 1 or 0. And since we had only two symbols in binary PSK, that's why its name was binary PSK. Whereas in quadrature PSK, we will be transmitting 2 bits at a time. Okay, 2 bits at a time means how many digital symbols? There will be 2 raised to power 2, that is 4 digital symbols. Okay, so there will be 4 digital symbols. That's why we can call it as 4 PSK. Okay, and these 4 digital symbols will be transmitted in quadrature. So that's why it is called quadrature PSK. Okay, so as I have shown in the slide as well, so in QPSK we transmit 2 bits simultaneously. Fine. So each symbol in our QPSK symbol consists of 2 successive bits. You all know that the data will be presented to us in the serial binary stream. So where we will have successive binary bits, okay, or binary digits. So from those successive bits, we will consider 2 bits at a time, okay, and those 2 bits at a time will form a QPSK symbol. So from the 2 bits, we will have 4 distinct QPSK symbols, and those distinct symbols could be either 00 or 01 or 10 or 11. Okay, so there can be only 4 possible symbols, though they may repeat themselves, but distinct symbols can be these 4 symbols only. Okay, so if you remember in binary PSK, I told you that the phase difference with the help of which we represent distinct symbols was 2 pi by 2 in case of binary. That gave us pi radian as the phase difference. Whereas in QPSK, the phase difference between various symbols will be 2 pi by 4. So because of 4 symbols, we have 4 here. So it means the phase shift between, or the phase difference between two adjacent symbols will be how much? Pi by 2 radian or 90°. Okay, so whatever number of bits we consider in each digital symbol, accordingly we decide the phase difference. So if we have m number of possible digital symbols, so your phase difference will be 2 pi by m, where m is equal to 2 raised to power capital N, and n is the number of bits in each symbol. I hope all of you have understood this concept. Okay, so the digital symbols in case of QPSK are represented by phase shifts, because this is PSK technique. So these phase shifts are such that the phase difference between two adjacent symbols is how much? It is 90°. Okay, and as I told you, we will be combining two successive bits. So obviously what we do here, the bits will be divided into two streams. One is odd numbered bit stream and another is even numbered bit stream. And those odd numbered and even numbered bits, they are respectively called as in phase data stream or quadrature phase data stream. Fine. And these in phase and quadrature phase data streams, they are transmitted with the help of a pair of quadrature phase shifted carriers. Okay, that means that your in phase data stream will be transmitted through, say, cosine carrier. Cosine carrier means cosine of omega naught t. In that case, your another bit stream will be represented by, or will be dealt by sinusoidal carrier, that is sine omega naught t. So your cosine of omega t or omega naught t and sine of omega t. So we call these as quadrature carriers, because there is a relationship of 90-degree between these two uh, carriers. You know that cosine and sine, they are related to each other by a phase difference of 90-degree. That's why we call them as quadrature phase shifted carrier. Okay, so that was the main concept of quadrature PSK. Next. So this is how we generate QPSK signal. So this is the block diagram of QPSK generator. Before we discuss this QPSK generator, we need to understand a bit about the working of D flip-flop. All of you have studied the working of D flip-flop in your digital electronics subject. D flip-flop, we also call it as delay flip-flop. Okay, so whatever bit we provide at the input of D flip-flop, at the Q, the same bit appears. So if you provide 1 at the input, you get 1 at the output. If you provide 0 at the input, you get the corresponding 0 as the output after certain propagation delay. So that's why it is called as D flip-flop. And the same kind of thing has been represented here with the help of your waveforms. So we need to look into these waveforms carefully so that we can actually appreciate the working of your QPSK generator. Let us see that. And you also must be knowing that there are two outputs in any flip-flop. One is represented by Q and another is the complementary output. So if this Q is 0, then this Q bar will be 1, and if this Q is 1, then Q bar will be 0. So we have a complementary output in our D flip-flop. Fine. So we know that these are clocked flip-flop. So this is our clock signal whose duration of each cycle is TB, which is nothing but the bit duration. And we know that your flip-flop operates, it could be either level triggered or the edge triggered flip-flop. So here we are considering the flip-flop which is edge triggered flip-flop. Okay, so as triggered, and that too negative as triggered. So whatever flip-flop or the example we are considering here in QPSK, so our flip-flop, we have assumed it to be negative edge triggered flip-flop. Okay, so what does it mean? That whenever active edge of the clock comes, in that case, whatever is the input state of the flip-flop just before this active edge, same thing will be propagated at the active edge. So this is our input bit stream DT. So at this active edge, my just before this active edge, my input is 0. So this 0 will be transmitted at the output of this flip-flop, that is Q. Okay, at this active edge. Now next active edge, negative going active edge comes at this point. At this point, just before this transition of active edge, my input was 0. So it means at this active edge, again this 0 will be propagated like this. Then my third cycle gives my active edge at this point. So at this point, if I see here, just before this active edge, my input is 1. So it means just after this active edge, my output will be 1. It means this 1 is propagated. So this way, you can conclude from here that my input bit stream is delayed by an amount TB. Okay. So we get the output bit stream that is in the form of Q. I hope you have understood this thing. So that's why we call it as delay flip-flop. So your input bit stream is delayed by an amount TB because of the presence of D flip-flop. Okay, so uh, I wanted to explain this thing to you because in the generator of QPSK above, we are using two flip-flops, two D flip-flops. One is for even bit stream and another is for odd bit stream. So this bit D flip-flop will introduce delay like this. That is one point. Another is we have used toggle flip-flop. You all know what is the purpose of toggle flip-flop. Your toggle flip-flop toggles the input bit. So if this is our input bit stream, fine. And if you say this bit stream is BT, okay, then your output bit stream, say at Q, it will give you toggled output. And say the negative going edge, this is our negative going edge corresponding to the say clock. Then after this, whatever was input was before this active edge, it will be toggled, fine. So this one will become 0 here, then we'll get 1 here, and then we will get 0 here, something like that. Okay, so this is the purpose of our toggle flip-flop. Okay, so as I told you, if you look at the clock frequency, so your toggle flip-flop provides us clock frequency which is divided by 2, half the clock frequency. So if you provide a clock frequency FB, okay, at the output of toggle flip-flop, my clock frequency will be FB by 2. And that is quite understandable also, as we have seen that your output bit stream, this output bit stream also has a frequency which is double that of this clock frequency. Okay, so if you remember this concept that during every transition of the active edge of the clock, there will be change in the state of the flip-flop, then you will be able to find out that it gives us divide by 2 clock frequency. Fine. So with the help of toggle flip-flop, whatever clock frequency is there, we uh, divide its frequency by 2. It means we are decreasing the frequency. Decreasing the frequency means we are increasing the clock period. Fine. So now let us concentrate on our QPSK signal generator. So in QPSK signal generator, what we do, whatever is the incoming bit stream, that incoming bit stream is divided into two parallel streams. Okay, in the one of the streams, we separate out even bits. Okay, in other parallel stream, we separate out odd stream of bits. Or in other words, what we do, we separate out even numbered bits and odd numbered bits, and we transmit them under parallel data streams. Okay, so in order to separate out this even and odd bit streams, what we have done, we have used D flip-flop. Okay, so this D flip-flop, it will be operated during even clock, which will give us even numbered bits. This lower D flip-flop will be operated by odd clock, which will give us odd numbered bits. So in the next slide, I'll show you the waveforms also, where it will be clear to you that how actually we are able to segregate even numbered bits and odd numbered bits. So here you can, for the time being, assume that at the output of upper flip-flop, we will be able to get even numbered bits, and at the output of your lower flip-flop, we'll be able to get odd numbered bits. Fine. So let us see how do we segregate them in the next slide. So this is what we do. So this is our original clock. Fine. So this is our odd clock. Fine. Now you again have a look at this output of the toggle flip-flop. In the upper flip-flop, we have provided Q as the even clock, whereas in the lower flip-flop, we have provided Q bar as the odd clock. So it means the complementary outputs of the toggle flip-flop, they are provided as even clock and odd clock respectively. It means even clock and odd clock, they will be complement of each other. So you see here, so we have 0 here, we have 1 here, we have 1 here, we have 0 here. So this is the difference between your even clock and odd clock. They are complementary of each other. That is one point. So this is our main clock frequency. You can see that the clock frequency of your original clock, it is double to that of your even and odd clock. See, the frequency of this one is half to that of your original clock frequency. Okay, which has been achieved through your toggle flip-flop. Fine. So that is our odd clock and this is our even clock. Now this is our bit stream BT, which consists of your continuous zeros and 1 bit. So we have 0 0 1 0. So these bits are numbered as 1 2 3 4 5. So this is our serial bit stream, original bit stream. And this bit stream has to be divided into two parallel streams. One is called odd numbered bit streams and another is even numbered bit stream. How does it happen? Now you see, as I told you that our flip-flop or D flip-flop, both these D flip-flops will work in the negative going edge. Okay, so for odd flip-flop, these are my negative going edge. This one, then this one, then this one, then this one. Okay, and for even clock, my negative going edge comes here. After, there is a delay of you can say time period TB here between your even clock and odd clock, or between the negative going edge. It means your odd flip-flop will work at this point, your even flip-flop will work at this point. So it means your odd flip-flop will extract this bit, then your odd flip-flop will extract this bit, then your odd flip-flop will extract this bit, which is nothing but first bit, third bit, fifth bit, seventh bit, then ninth bit, like this. Then your even flip-flop, which means this one, it will work at this point. So this is nothing but your bit number 2, then we get bit number 4, then bit number 6, then bit number 8. It means your even flip-flop extracts the even number bits. Okay, so this is how, with the help of D flip-flop, we are able to extract your even numbered bits and odd number bits. Okay, so I hope you are able to clear uh, yourself regarding the extraction of these bits. Okay, I think I need to make a correction here. The correction is the even numbered bits are this one. These are even numbered bits. By mistake, I showed the above one as the even numbered bits. So this bit is bit number 2. This bit is bit number 4. This bit is bit number 6, which will operate at even clock. Okay, and the above one is the odd numbered bits. Okay, so once we have separated out those even and odd numbered bits, then these bits will then be multiplied with the quadrature carriers. So you see here the even numbered bits, they will be passed through a balanced modulator or a multiplier having carrier under root PS cosine of omega naught t. It means even numbered bits are transmitted with the help of cosine carrier, and odd numbered bits, they are transmitted with the help of sine carrier. And this sine carrier and cosine carrier, they are in quadrature, in phase quadrature with respect to each other. Okay, and finally we add them. So mathematically, how does it represent the things. You see here that your odd number bits, they are multiplied with sinusoidal carrier, and even numbered bits are multiplied with cosine carrier, and then they are added together, and finally we get QPSK signal as output, which can be represented like this. Okay, so students, one thing we need to understand that see, once we add them, then even bits and odd bits are mixed with each other. Okay, now the question arises, first we separated even bits and odd bits, then we used cosine and sine carrier, then after that if we finally add them together, then those bits must be again mixed with each other. Okay, but that is not the case. We are transmitting even numbered bits and odd number bits on the carriers which are in quadrature with each other. Okay, what does it mean? That quadrature means there is a phase relationship of 90-degree. Fine. So you can say that your even numbered bits are transmitted through a carrier which is represented by phasor in the real axis. Then your odd number bits are transmitted through a carrier which are represented through your quadrature carrier, which represents your imaginary axis. Fine. So your sine and cosine, because they are in phase quadrature, they will not mix with each other in the channel. Your sine and cosine, they will go perpendicular to each other in the channel. They cannot mix. Okay, there will be no projection of this phasor onto this carrier or in this phasor or the other way around. So that way in QPSK, by the use of your quadrature carrier, we are able to transmit simultaneously two bits together. See, in BPSK, we transmitted one bit at a time, either 0 or 1. Whereas in QPSK, we transmit two bits at a time. We transmit 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So these two bits are transmitted together. Together means we transmit them in such a way that they are transmitted parallelly together, but they are not able to influence each other because they are transmitted through quadrature carriers. That is very, very important point that you have to understand here. Okay, so this is how my QPSK signal is transmitted with the help of your quadrature carriers. Okay, so mathematically, if you want to represent your bits, then a table has been shown in this slide where you can see that if we have successive bit sets 1 0, then 0 0, then 0 1, then 1 1. I told you there are four possible digital symbols which can be represented as S1, S2, S3, and S4. Okay, so if you represent your S1 T by like this, A cosine 2 pi FCT plus pi by 4. Okay, then as I told you that your successive symbols will be having a phase difference of 90-degree or pi by 2 radian. So then you can see here that the phase shift between your successive symbols is how much? It is pi by 2 radian. Okay, so this is how mathematically you can represent QPSK symbols. And the symbols that we are transmitting here, they can also be represented with the help of phasors. So this is the phasor representation of our QPSK symbols. If you remember, I told you, or I discussed about constellation diagram also in BPSK, and that was also phasor representation. Similarly, in QPSK also, we get the phasor representation corresponding to our QPSK symbols. So if we assume the bipolar representation, then 1 will be taken as 1 and 0 may be taken as -1. So if we take that, then these four possible symbols, they are represented in quadrature like this. Okay, so this is how we represent our constellation diagram for QPSK signal with the help of phasors. Okay, so if you look carefully onto this phasor diagram, okay, so this phasor diagram has phasors whose amplitude and whose angle they that is being decided with the help of this expression. Okay, so depending on whether your odd bit is -1, even bit is sorry, +1. So if we have symbol -1 +1, or 1 1, or -1 -1, or 1 -1, depending on we get the phasors. Okay, so let us see if we have B naught as 1 and if we have BE as 1. Okay, for that case we will have our phasor, resultant phasor, represented like this, where we have plus sine omega naught t and plus cos omega naught t. So this is my plus cos omega naught t, this is my plus sine omega naught t, and this is the resultant one, resultant phasor, which represents my digital symbol corresponding to B naught as 1 and BE as 1. Okay, and the amplitude of this resultant phasor is nothing but this is equal to under root 2 PS. Okay, so similarly we can have a phasor corresponding to symbol -1 1 like this. Then this is for the symbol -1 -1, and this is for the symbol 1 and -1. Fine. So this is how we are able to generate QPSK signal. This is how we are able to transmit QPSK signal, or this is how we represent our QPSK signal, where we say that 2 bits are transmitted simultaneously. Okay. So I hope all of you have been able to understand the concept of quadrature phase shift keying. So after looking into the generation of QPSK signal, let us now move forward. So next important concept related to QPSK is offset and non-offset QPSK. So my dear students, the kind of QPSK generator I showed you in the previous slide, that was of the type offset QPSK. Okay, we call it as OQPSK. Okay, and why do we call it as OQPSK? Let me explain it again here. So here, the clocks that we provide, your even and odd clock that we provide, they are offset. Okay, means your even numbered stream and your odd number streams, they are offset with respect to each other. Means your even bit and odd bit, they are not allowed to change simultaneously. Okay, this is what I want to say here. Fine. Indirectly what I want to say here, see, you look at the table. So here my 2 bits are say 1 0. Okay, then what is happening, this 0 is not changing, only this bit is changing. Then in next successive symbols, this 0 is maintained same, this bit is changing. Okay, then here this one is remaining unchanged, and this one is changing. Means in the offset uh, QPSK, we introduce a delay between even and odd bits change. We do not allow both the even bits and odd bits to change simultaneously. What does it mean? Like if you have S1 as, so for example, 0 0, and your S2 comes at 1 1. Now what is happening? This 0 is also changing to 1. This 0 is also changing to 1. And say your next symbol is, for example, again 0 0. It means then your 1 is changing to 0, your 1 is changing to 0. It means both the bits, they are allowed to change simultaneously. This is the meaning of uh, the concept that I want to highlight here. Instead, what we do, we allow only one bit to change. We will say that, okay, we will keep this bit as same. Okay, in order to generate another symbol, we will allow only one of the 2 bits to change. So this is what we do. the block diagram of QPSK modulator that we have seen, that is nothing but the offset QPSK. And we ensure that both bits do not change simultaneously by providing a delay in the even and odd bits. Okay, so if we do not provide delay, okay, so for that what we will have to do here, I'll have to use one more flip flop, one more D flip flop. So if we do that, then whatever delay is there, that delay will be removed, and the even bits and odd bits clock that will be produced simultaneously. Okay, so this odd clock and even clock, they will not have uh, offset of TB, they will change simultaneously. Okay, means like this. So if this is my odd clock, my even clock will also be like this. That means at the negative going edge of both even and odd, my bits will change. So there is a possibility that both bits will change simultaneously. Okay, so if we follow such kind of thing, we call that as non-offset QPSK. Okay, so this is the main difference between offset QPSK and non-offset QPSK. Now the question is, which one should we go for? So we practically go for offset QPSK. We do not use non-offset QPSK. Okay, and the reason behind that is that in non-offset QPSK, as I told you, your both bits may change simultaneously. Okay, so if bits change simultaneously, means you go from say 00 to 11. It means if you go from 0 to 1, 00 to 11 or 11 to 00, you will be crossing zero line. Okay, means your amplitude variation of the QPSK symbol will take place and your amplitude will cross zero level. Okay, means there will be more amplitude variations in your QPSK symbol if you allow both bits to change simultaneously. Another thing is, as your amplitude changes abruptly from 00 to 11 or 11 to 00 by passing zero level, okay, in a way you can say that there is abrupt change of 180-degree phase change, okay, due to non-offset QPSK. Then what happens apart from this variation in the amplitude? All of you know that we use a band pass filter to suppress the side bands that we have in our transmitted signal. So when we pass such abrupt phase change signal through sideband suppression filter, then because of that your additional spectral components are generated. Okay, so and how come these additional spectral components are generated? All of us know that we have to use non-linear power amplifiers at the output of our transmitter. Okay, and once such abruptly phase changing signal passes through our non-linear power amplifiers, due to their non-linearity, your uh, new spectral components are generated, and because of generation of these spectral components, some minor lobes come into the picture at the output stage. And because of those presence of additional spectral components, whatever advantage we have got by suppressing through our sideband suppression filter, that has gone away. Means we will not be able to band limit our output signal. Okay, if you remember in BPSK, I had told you when we saw the power spectral density of the BPSK signal, I told you that the side lobes have very low level, so we could use a filter to remove those side lobes, and we could concentrate only on the main lobe, so that we could control the bandwidth required for the transmission of BPSK signal. Okay, so because of this abrupt variation, we may have some additional components, because of which the bandwidth requirement for QPSK signal will increase, or in other words, because of these additional spectral components, there will be interference between your adjacent bits. Okay, so inter-symbol interference that may take place, or inter-channel interference that may take place because of this non-offset QPSK. So practically, that's why we use offset PSK in case of your quadrature phase shift keying. Fine. So I hope all of you have this thing clear, that what is the difference between offset QPSK and your non-offset QPSK. Next. So this is our QPSK receiver. If you remember your BPSK receiver, there we had two things we discussed. I told you that we need to recover the carrier. So we had a carrier recovery circuit in our BPSK receiver. Okay, we recovered the carrier first. Okay, and after recovering the carrier from the received signal, then what we did, we demodulated our signal back by with using the carrier recovered at our receiver side. Okay, and if you remember the concept of coherent detection, so same thing was used here, in order that we are able to match the phase of the extracted carrier. During demodulation, we extract the carrier from the received signal itself. So instead of locally generating your carrier signal, we recover it from the received signal. Okay, so there in BPSK, if you remember, how did we recover the carrier? So this portion is our carrier recovery part. So in BPSK, what we did, we raised our received signal to the power 2. Then we had used the band pass filter corresponding to center frequency 2f0. Then we had divided our frequency by 2. Now, since it is QPSK, which implies that there are 4 possible symbols. Okay, so instead of power 2, we have power 4th. So in order to extract the carrier, we will first raise our input to 4th power, that is s raised power 4t. Then we will use a band pass filter, which is centered around frequency 4f0. Then we will be using frequency divider, that is, we will divide the frequency of cosine of 4 omega naught t by 4, so that we get cosine of omega naught t. Okay, so this is the cosine component of the carrier frequency from the recovered carrier. So then by providing a 90-degree phase shift, we can also generate sine omega naught t. Since we have used in QPSK carrier frequency in quadrature, so we need both carriers, cosine omega naught t and sine omega naught t, from our received signal. Okay, so once we have recovered carrier in this branch of the receiver, then we will use these recovered carrier to demodulate our signal. So our received signal, original received signal, will now be splitted into 2 branches. One is your in phase branch and another is your quadrature branch. Okay, your in phase branch will multiply your incoming signal with the sine omega naught t, and your quadrature branch will your cos omega naught t. So these are nothing but the multiplication with the carrier frequency in 2 parallel branches. So it is also the same as we have seen in BPSK receiver, except the fact that we are using 2 branches now. And then if you remember that if we multiply our received signal with corresponding cosine and sine, then what we use here, we use integrator and dump. Okay, so this is nothing but our integration of the received signal, where we integrate our received signal over a bit period. Fine. So if you look at this expression of QPSK signal carefully, see, your original received signal consists of both components. One is sine as well as cosine. So in this upper branch, we have at input sine and cosine, which is multiplied with sine. Okay, your sine multiplied with sine gives you sine square. Okay, fine. And your sine multiplied with cosine gives us sine into cos. So when you integrate over integral number of cycles, so this sine multiplied with cosine will give you 0. So means when you multiply received signal with sine, you will be able to extract this part. Okay, with this sine you will be able to extract corresponding sine part, which is nothing but my odd bit stream. Whereas this received signal when multiplied with cosine, okay, this will extract the cosine component, means this one. Okay, means this branch will give us your even numbered bits. So this is how by again using those quadrature carriers, we are able to segregate our even bits and odd bits. Rest of the things are exactly same. So we will be integrating over the corresponding bit period. If you remember, the duration of the clock will be same as it was in the transmitter side. So that duration was twice of TB. Okay, so we will hold a particular value corresponding to 2 TB in the your odd stream and 2 TB in the even stream. Okay, and since we have to receive even bit for 1 bit duration and odd bit for 1 bit duration, so out of these 2 bits duration period, for 1 bit duration period we will sample odd bit, and for another bit duration we will sample your even bit. Okay, so you can say that your even bit, say for example 1 was existing for twice of TB period like this, and say your odd bit was present corresponding to double the duration, say this bit is 0 for this duration. So you can say that uh, during this portion we extract 1 bit, and during this portion we extract another bit. Okay, so these 2 bits were present simultaneously for twice the bit duration period, but we have extracted them from 1 bit duration, and then we are able to retrain back or retrieve back our original bit stream of the duration TB. So this half duration is nothing but it is equivalent to our TB. Okay, so we will sample our bits for 1 bit duration once from the upper you can say integrator and dump circuit, and once from the lower one, or once from the odd numbered branch and another from the even numbered branch, and then we can store that bit using latch, and finally we get our original bit stream that we had transmitted. Okay, so that was all about our QPSK receiver, and the way we get our original demodulated signal back, and we have also seen how do we recover our carrier for the purpose of coherent detection. And this table is just for your reference, which gives us an idea that how do we get ones and zeros in our I channel and your Q channel, that is in phase channel and your quadrature channel. And as I told you, the main advantage of digital modulation technique is to detect whether my bit is 1 or 0. So that 1 or 0 can be detected depending on the output of my detection represents a positive value or the negative value. Fine. So this is our QPSK receiver. So students, after looking into quadrature PSK, now we discuss Emery PSK. So Emery PSK is nothing but it is the generalized form of our PSK. Okay, as I told you, in quadrature PSK we had 4 different symbols. In BPSK we had 2 different symbols. So if we generalize and say that if we have m number of digital symbols where each digital symbol is represented by n number of bits. It means the total number of symbols will be equal to m, which is equal to 2 raised to power n. Okay, so that's why we call it as Emery PSK, where we have capital M number of possible digital symbols. Okay, so as I have already told you, in Emery PSK, what we do, we generate sinusoids with different phases. Okay, depending on how many number of digital symbols we want to transmit. So in Emery PSK, the waveforms that we use to identify the symbols, they can be represented like this. So those waveforms can be represented as under root 2 ps cosine of omega naught t plus phi m. So omega naught t is our constant carrier frequency, and phi m is the corresponding phase of the waveform, constant amplitude waveform that we use for our PSK. So this phi m, it can be represented as like this, twice of m plus 1 into pi by m. Okay, so where small m varies from 0 to capital M minus 1, it means there are capital M number of symbols. Okay, and with this phase of 2 pi is divided among your m number of symbols. Okay, and your individual symbol will then have a phase which is represented by phi m equal to 2m plus 1 multiplied by pi by m. Okay, so this is how we represent our Emery PSK waveform. Okay, and if you expand this expression trigonometrically, what we get under root 2 ps cos phi m cos omega t minus under root 2 ps sin phi m sin omega naught t. So this portion under root 2 ps cos phi m can be represented by PE, and this can be represented by your PO, and then what we have PE cos omega naught t and minus P naught sin omega naught t. Fine. So this is your mathematically representation of Emery PSK. Okay. So your QPSK can also be called as Fourier PSK. Okay, but it is popularly known as quadrature PSK. So if you move higher than that, you have 8 PSK. Okay, 8 PSK means capital M will be 8. You have 16 PSK. So such kind of terminology we use corresponding to our Emery PSK system. Okay, so if you look carefully on this slide, on the left hand side, I have shown the constellation diagram of 8 PSK, where each symbol is represented by 3 bits. Similarly, in case of 16 PSK, we will have 16 constellation points. Okay, and corresponding phase difference will be there between successive digital symbols. Fine. So this is how we represent our Emery PSK system or signal. Fine. So if we look into the generation of your Emery PSK signal, then that generation has been shown in a schematic way, because this is a generalized representation. So after looking into the details of BPSK and QPSK, things can be generalized easily. So the way we had serial bit stream in QPSK, we again have serial bit stream in Emery PSK as well. And this bit stream will be serial to parallel converted, and the number of parallel branches will depend on the number of bits that we take to represent each digital symbol. Okay, so here, as I told you, we are considering n number of bits for each symbol. So we will have n number of branches. Okay, so these are n number of parallel streams corresponding to n bits in each digital symbol. Okay, so these n bits together represent an amplitude, or you can say symbol amplitude, that will correspond to a given phase for a sinusoid that we will transmit. So these n bits, they are digital to analog converted to get an amplitude that will give us an idea about the amplitude, or you can say uh, we will get some value VSM that will represent our n bit symbol. Okay, so we will get an analog value or a voltage value that corresponds to this n bit symbol with the help of digital to analog converter. So once we get this VSM, then what we do, with the help of the value that we get corresponding to this VSM, then we will generate a sinusoidal signal of constant amplitude but varying phase. Okay, so with the help of this VSM, we will generate a constant amplitude sinusoidal signal, okay, whose phase will be controlled by this VSM. Okay, so this D2A converted voltage value will provide us a particular phase angle sinusoidal signal. Okay, and depending on the value that we have corresponding to that n bit symbol, we will be able to get the phase shifted your digital symbols, or in fact I say phase shifted sinusoidal signals. Okay, so this is how we are able to generate various sinusoids with different phases, and those phase values are controlled by these voltage values, which corresponds to n bit digital symbol. Fine. So this is the way we generate MRE PSK signal. Okay, I hope all of you have understood this thing very clearly. Next. So then after looking into Emery PSK transmitter, now we can easily make out how will our Emery PSK receiver look like. So your QPSK receiver has been generalized straight away here. So your on the left hand side we have carrier recovery circuit. So since it is our Emery PSK receiver, so we first have raised to mth power, then your band pass filter is centered around mf naught, then your frequency divider gives you divide by m frequency, and then we get two frequencies in quadrature. One is sine omega naught t and cos omega naught t. So this is our carrier recovery part, and after carrier has been recovered from the received signal, then your received signal will be multiplied in these quadrature branches the way we did in our QPSK receiver. Okay, and as I told you here, the value or the signal that I'll be receiving, that will correspond to one symbol. Okay, and that symbol was having n bits. Okay, so we will be integrating this signal here for one symbol duration, and that symbol duration corresponds to n times your single bit duration. So obviously your symbol duration will be n into TB here, as well as your corresponding to this integrator circuit. So here we will integrate our signal for one symbol duration. Okay, so once we have integrate over one symbol, then the output that we get, this output corresponds to the voltage value, this VSM that we had generated. That voltage value we get at the output of this corresponding integrator, and then those voltage values are again converted to digital values that will give us an idea of the bits that are used to represent that corresponding voltage value, either in the sinusoidal branch or in the cosinusoidal carrier branch. Okay, so after that we are able to reconstitute our n bit symbol, and we are able to recover our n bit digital symbol. Fine. So this is how we receive our Emery PSK signal. So though the mathematical analysis of this may be quite involved, but we need not go into detail of that. You may restrict yourself onto the mathematical analysis up to your quadrature PSK only. Fine. So by generalizing that quadrature PSK concept, you can easily expect that your output will be obtained by following the schematic which is shown in this Emery PSK receiver. Okay, so I think you have been able to understand clearly the concept of Emery PSK receiver and the constellation diagram of your Emery PSK. Okay. So that's all for today's class of Emery PSK, and we will continue with the next topic in the next class. We stop here. Thank you.